Yes! Welcome into Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy Weekend Preview Edition. Big game breakdown, two big games. Indians and the Orioles could be a playoff preview, and the Giants on the road to take on the Yankees. Bad bets, good bets. We'll get to that in the NFL season coming up. We'll explain when we get to deep dive. Before we get to bad beats and bad bets, heat wave coming. MLB heating up literally as it's going to get hot this weekend in Major League Baseball. Couple of things to follow. Usually cool in San Diego. The Padres just had a lousy weekend in St. Louis. Now they have to go to D.C. And the Giants struggled in Boston, and they continue to go into the heat in New York City, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is take a look at this map, and you're going to see where heat is going to impact baseball games over the course of the weekend. And as a bettor, how do you want to be aware, and how do you want to attack heat situations? Obviously, you talked about the West Coast teams, where San Diego had a really rough week in St. Louis. The Giants didn't exactly have things go well in Boston either. Two teams that are going to be in hot situations. But when it comes to individual matchups, not just teams that you want to be aware of, there are two things I'm going to look for. I'm looking for tired bullpens, because tired bullpens do not get helped by 100-plus heat index days. They really don't. And another thing I'm going to look for is slumping lineups. You think, runs in bunches. And that can happen during these heat waves. But when you got a team that's ice cold offensively, that's not hitting the ball well, the heat doesn't really help. You see a lot of bad at-bats, a lot of bad swings, a lot of guys tired by the latter stage of the ball games. So it's not like you can expect to see runs go off the map, go off the chart over the course of the weekend. You're going to see some tired bullpens get lit up, but you're also going to see some bad lineups struggle as well.
That's right. We start with a bad beat. Those Padres, 5-1.
Hey, let me say one more thing here real quick, Paul, because there's a second point that I want to make, and that's size matters. You know, the skinny guys, when you talk about starting pitchers, they can legitimately get worn down in July and August. And again, this is not based on any kind of scientific data. I have not gone through subsets of pitchers that weigh more than 240 pounds versus pitchers that weigh less than 200. But just based on past experience, it seems like the beefy guys seem to handle the heat a little bit better than the skinny guys do. Something to be aware of this weekend.
Right. Speaking of those Padres, they blew a 5-1 lead in the bottom of the eighth as the Cardinals come all the way back and win.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Cashner threw a gem.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that spent most of the year struggling. Not lately. And what he threw? Well, 1 run allowed on 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, no walks. Bullpen behind him did not pitch as well as Andrew Cashner. And, of course, there was a ton of San Diego money, too. They were plus 205 at the open in some books, but all the way down to plus 180. And I'll tell you what, you look at this picture of Cashner right here, he might be very glad to be taking off a Padres cap for the last time. He is, at least, I'm not going to say a likely candidate, but certainly a potential candidate to get dealt over the course of the next week or so.
Yankees were a bad bet. Lineup shenanigans. Explain.
Well, I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the preview on yesterday's Sports Bet, how Baltimore had a flu bug going around the locker room, and there were a bunch of guys that couldn't play on Wednesday. And, of course, the market's knee-jerk assumptions happens all the time. Oh, they're not going to be able to play on Thursday either. Yes, they were. We saw Chris Davis back in the lineup, Manny Machado back in the lineup. But, of course, this is a game that opened minus 113 for Baltimore as they were road chalk. It closed plus 110. So when you have Davis and Machado back in the lineup, let's see, Machado's got 2 hits and scored a run. Tillman, once again, who the markets have hated all year, throws another gem. And, Yankees were a bad bet, and they took a ton of syndicate money.
Tillman 14-2. How about that? Another bad bet. Dodgers, Nationals under 7. Turner hits 2 home runs.
Yeah, he almost got there by himself.
True.
You know, Strasburg, the first NL pitcher to open 13-0 since 1912. But, Turner, as you mentioned, gave him a rough outing. And that total, you're saying it was down to that total opened to 8 and bet down to 7. I mean, it was 7 with some over money on it, but a significant money on the under in Dodgers Nats. And this is one that was not right. A bad bet for those who follow the steam.
One more. What happened in this Rays-A's game with the line?
It was insane. I shouldn't say it's insane. You can explain it. You can understand it. But it is still a pretty crazy line move. There was nothing but Tampa money from the opener. Oakland, minus 145. They got bet down to minus 120 overnight, then minus 110 in morning action. So we saw like a 30, 35 cent move on that game. And then in the hour before the first pitch, all of a sudden, Steven Pearce, Tampa's cleanup hitter, just off the DL and off back-to-back 2 RBI games. It was announced that he would sit. And I'm telling you, the money didn't come on Oakland. The money poured it on Oakland, hand over fist. That minus 110 right back to minus 140 in the hour before the first pitch. So what happened? Well, the A's get a 3-run homer from their number 8 hitter with 2 outs in the second. That's about it. Sonny Gray couldn't hold the lead, lit up by the 5th. And the Rays now 4-1 their last 5 after that ugly 3-24 stretch. One more note on this game. Tim Beckham, we talked about him on yesterday's show when he went 5 for 5 and raised his batting average to like 40 points. Well, he got hits with his first 2 at-bats again on Thursday against Gray, but he couldn't match the franchise record with 8 straight hits. Popped out to second and at-bat number.
How does that happen? Guy's hitting $180 and he goes 7 for 7. That's crazy.
There's a lot of randomness in baseball.
Sure. All right, our first ever homework assignment. What are you doing here?
A homework assignment's not the right way to phrase it. But here's a book. Okay, this book is called Conquering Risk. We got a graphic of it on the screen. Conquering Risk. It's by Elihu Feustel and George Howard. And I get a lot of questions. Why is a line move like this? Why is this number so short? Can you explain the thought processes of the syndicates? What are the syndicates thinking? What are they doing? There's another book. It's called Sharp Sports Betting by Stanford Wong. I checked. They're both available right now at Amazon.com. If you want to understand the mindset of the markets, not saying copy it, not saying emulate it, understand it. These are 2 books. The Conquering Risk and the Sharp Sports Betting are 2 books that will absolutely get you into the head of how lines are made and how wise guys and syndicates attack those lines. And, some of the points are pretty basic, Pauly. Wise guys are betting math. They're betting math, not teams. Yeah. The decisions are based on long-term subsets, not watching games and analyzing matchups. Most of the bets that the syndicates make are based on modeling, and generating their own point spreads. They're not looking at what we're looking at, hence line moves in weird directions that sometimes we can't explain. The 2 books explain that mentality philosophy very well, all about positive EV, positive expected value bets. And that's the primary driver of the betting markets in 2016. So if you read between the lines of this book, you can see where the holes are, where the leaks are. That's our job, Pauly. That's all of our jobs. My job, Paul, yours, and the job of our audience to exploit. There is one commonality, and one real commonality between wise guys and good bettors. That not necessarily in how they're picking games, but the sharp money, they're never betting bad numbers. The syndicates are always getting the best of the number. They're taking advantage of rogue numbers where they can find them. Good bettors should do the exact same thing. Even if you're betting on the opposite side of the syndicates. Once the syndicates have feasted from the trough and they've given us an extra point or 2 or 3 or 4, come back the other side and you're getting on a good wager with positive EV potential. So, again, it's not a homework assignment, but if you want to understand how these markets work, why we talk about the betting markets and not just, this team, that team, the other team, which is mostly what handicappers do, is talk about the teams, not the broader concepts. The 2 books, Sharp Sports Betting and Conquering Risk, are both excellent reads when it comes to understanding the mentality behind the wagers.
All right, very good there. We try to understand big game breakdown. Indians, Orioles, Giants, Yankees coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Hey, Sports Bit viewers, tune into the MLB Odds Couple Show for today, July 22nd, Friday, July 22nd. I'm going to have a bunch of picks. I'm not going to tell you any of them right now, but if you watch the show, you can catch them all. I'll give them I'll give them a little teaser. I'm going to have maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 4 picks on the Minnesota-Boston game.
Holy cow, you better jump in and check us out.
All right, back on SportsBit. Betting Insight today, as always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Indians and the Orioles. Bauer against Bundy, $1.05, 9 the total. Could be a playoff preview here. And you want to talk about a crazy turnaround. How about Bauer, who went from 11-12 with a 4.55 ERA to 7-3 with a 3.36 ERA, Teddy.
Well, look, Bauer always had top prospect type of stuff. He just wasn't able to put it together at the major league level in his first couple of seasons in the big leagues. But right now, he's a pitcher. He has a lot of confidence in this stuff. Better control, more ground balls, and the fly balls against him are not being hit as hard. Look at the numbers, and they show it in all three of those categories. The walks are down, the ground ball rate is up, and the home run to fly ball percentage is down. Hence, the significantly better numbers here in 2016. And, you say, what's the key? How'd he do it? Well, he added a two-seam fastball. That's creating some of the ground balls. And he's added the confidence to throw more curveballs and changeups, allowing contact on those kind of pitches. Look at the numbers, the curve and changeup rate. Last year, only about 20% of the time. This year, close to 30% of the time. So varying speeds, having the confidence to throw curves and changeups as out pitches. Hey, Trevor Bauer's a pretty good pitcher right now. And he's one guy who's not going to be affected by the fact that Yan Gomes is hurt. He's been working with him as his backup catcher all year long, and it's working out pretty well, obviously, so far this season.
Orioles get Davis and Machado back, so the flu bug not a problem. Adam Jones should be back tonight as well. So Bundy has some good stuff too and could be putting up numbers like Bauer. Do we have a problem with how the Orioles are using him?
Yeah, look, everyone knows about Dylan Bundy. And if you don't know about him, you will. Because this is a guy who, you want to talk about a prospect that's been highly touted. This guy's been highly touted since the day he arrived in the minor leagues for Baltimore as being their ace of the future, et cetera, et cetera. So have they coddled him? Have they babied him? I don't know. He was a number 4 overall pick in 2011. He worked through injuries last year, only threw 22 innings at AA. He's never thrown an inning at AAA. And the first 22 games this season all came coming out of the bullpen. So, his first start, there was a ton of money on him. 11 days at not pitching at all. And then he got rocked at Tampa. 3 1/3, gave up 4 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, 3 dingers in that contest. I'm not convinced that Dylan Bundy is going to be able to come in this game and throw 5, 6, 7 innings of top-notch baseball. Look, he's got a 94-hour average. It's 94 mile an hour average on his fastball. But, that also counts the relief appearances when he's able to cut it loose. I'm not sure that he has the genuine experience to get into a flow as the starter yet. And that obviously has to be a concern for Baltimore, not just today, but at least in the short term, with a guy who the markets love in Dylan Bundy.
Yeah. All right. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Giants and the Yankees. Mad bum against Tanaka. $1.10, 7.5 the total split line. Some 7s out there. Giants yet to win since the break. And they haven't had the lead yet either. They've been outscored big time. Can Mad Bum get back on track and get the Giants back on track tonight?
Well, the Giants are a mess right now. Let's call it what it is. 0-5 since the All-Star break. And as you mentioned, they haven't even had the lead. Outscored by 25 runs. Mad Bum was way out of sync in San Diego in his last start. He really was. And Bochy, he made a semi-smart gamble. You start Mad Bum in the last game before the All-Star break, and then you bring him out for the first game afterwards. But with that gamble, I think he made a mistake. He sent him out for the 9th inning against Arizona.
Yeah.
They had a 4-0 lead in that last game before the All-Star break. He ended up throwing a season-high 117 pitches in that ball game. He came back on regular rest. He was flat against San Diego. He gave up 4 runs in 6 innings. And, of course, Will Myers and Adam Rosales both hit home runs. Now he's had a full week off before pitching again. Bochy didn't want to throw a left-hander in Fenway, although the right-handers at San Fran got slapped around. So at least he's had a little bit of extra time here, but Mad Bum wasn't Mad Bum last time out. We'll have to see if he is this evening.
So Tanaka had a week of rest, and he shut down the Red Sox Sunday night. Pedroia took him deep, and that was it. See if he can do it again and slow down the Giants.
Yeah, what do you give up? 2 other hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts in that ball game. And let's not forget, this is a stat that I like to use more and more over the back half of the campaign called difficulty of batters faced. And we got a tweet, someone asking where we can find this stat. And honestly, I give away just about everything on the show. Look around for it. You'll be able to find it. But I can't give out everything. I just can't. And this is one that I absolutely use consistently with the back half because you say, can this guy get out a good lineup or can he? And you look at the numbers on Tanaka, and most of the guys on this list from that AL East, where they got some pretty potent lineups in Toronto and Baltimore and Boston. But of the 113 pitchers at 80 innings pitched or more, Masahiro Tanaka, number 2 in baseball in difficulty of batters faced. And that means that when he faces that tough lineup, we can expect him to have at least some level of success. And of course, that consistency has helped build the bridge to the BMC bullpen with Betances, Miller, and Chapman all fresh tonight. 15 of his 17 starts for Tanaka have gone at least 6 innings. The Yankees, 11-2 in his last 13 trips to the Hill.
All right, 2 good series coming up. Looking forward to those games tonight. Should be fun up next. Deep dive. NFL. Good bet, bad bet, and the play of the day on SportsBit Betting Insight today.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.
All right, back on SportsBit. Deep dive. Play of the day coming up. This should be fun. NFL. Good bet, bad bet. Rapid fire. Let's go. To win the Super Bowl, Teddy.
It is July. There is no urgency to make a bet right now on a team to win the Super Bowl. The lines will still be there in pretty much the same place a month from now. We're talking about some of the chalk teams. They'll still be there pretty much in this place 2 months, 3 months, 4 months from now. No reason to lock up your money at this time to make a bet on who's going to win the Super Bowl. Silly bet to make.
All right. Odds to win the conference.
It's the same story. I mean, you're getting half the payout on the Super Bowl bet. The advantage is that 2 teams win their conferences. Only 1 team wins the Super Bowl. Didn't do you any good if you had a Carolina Panthers ticket to win the Super Bowl last year, only to win the NFC. That being said, you're still talking about a 16-team proposition of the, to win the conference. In general, when the books have 16 teams to choose from, they get to price 16 teams. There's a ton of house takeout on those bets. And again, the odds aren't going to move in any dramatic way between now and August, September, oftentimes even into October and November. No reason to bet an odds to win the conference right now.
Odds to win the division.
Well, there can be some value here with live long shots. And there can be value laying chalk in a division with 1 contender and 3, well, not so much. But I'm not making a ton of win the division bets. That being said, I'll make a handful, and I wouldn't talk anyone out of making them. Again, some of the live long shots, you see a team that a vulnerable favorite and or a team that maybe not getting the market respect they deserve. Why not take a flyer on them? This is an opportunity to get some of the 3, 4, 5, 8, 10-1 tickets that a lot of bettors like to do when they parlay.
Season win totals.
Well, it's the best future bet available, but it doesn't offer the massive payouts. That's the thing. Your standard recreational bettor, they always want to bet a little to win a lot. The standard professional bettor is often willing to bet a lot to win a little. They just want the bankroll to be moving in the right direction. When you're talking about the best future bet available, season over under wins. This is for NFL and for college. When it comes to positive expectation, these are the best bets out there, but you're not going to get rich betting them. You're not going to get 5-1 and 10-1 and 21 payouts. It's going to lock up your money all year, and in a best case scenario, you'll find a plus 150 ticket that'll cash. That being said, you can beat season over under win bets. That's why it's one of the things that I like to focus on all summer long.
Here's a good bet. Week 1 odds. There's some lines that are going to move.
Absolutely. And again, there's only one reason to be making bets now and not the week of the game or come October or come December, whatever. And that's you want to take advantage of lines that are there now that aren't going to be there when week 1 rolls around, or odds, for the Super Bowls or to win the divisions or something like that aren't going to be there later on. Well, there are a handful of week 1 odds that stand out to me, like a sore thumb. Look, Ravens minus 2.5. That stands out. This game will be at 3. Baltimore will be at 3 or higher before kickoff. We all know the value between 2.5 and 3 and 3.5 in the NFL. The Vikings minus 3 at Tennessee stands out. That's going to go up too. Minnesota goes off minimum of 3.5. You can bet Minnesota now. That's a positive EV bet, just like Baltimore 2.5 now. I think Seattle's going to go up as 9.5, 10-point chalk against Miami. You can find that 8.5 now in some spots. You've already seen it go up from 7.5. So there's a good handful of games out, of week 1 games out there right now that, yeah, it does make sense, particularly around key numbers, to lock up your money here in July for a game that won't be played until September.
Odds for the first 16 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and these aren't widely available. There's a handful of offshore books that offer them. Here in Las Vegas, you can find them at the CG, the Cantor Gaming Properties. And it is a solid derivative opportunity. You can use them in conjunction with win total bets to get some really substantial wagers down on teams that you have a strong opinion about. You know, another thing you can do is look for situations where a team's going to face a very brutal schedule early on, or a team that's going to face a very friendly schedule early on. When they stand out to you, like look at the Miami Dolphins, team we talked about this week on Sportsbet, and that tough start to the season that the Dolphins face. They're going to be repriced in the markets by week 5. So if you want to fade them now and bet against Miami now for some of the early games, you can do it kind of with impunity because they're going to be a bigger dog later on if things go as expected. The Dolphins get off to that very, very rough time.
Yeah. Well, what do you have on college?
Well, for college, again, the odds to win the national championship at the Suckers Bet. That's why you see the sheets to win the national title prominently displayed in every single sports book in Las Vegas when you walk in all summer long. That's not a good bet. The odds to win the conferences is similar to the odds to win the conferences in the NFL. Not a great bet. You can sometimes find some live long shots in those situations. Week numb, but there are some good bets in college football. The season win totals, year in, year out, beatable in college football. And those week 1 numbers, right now, they are just sitting there. They're waiting for bettors with strong opinions who have done their homework. And there aren't that many bettors with strong opinions who've done their homework yet, Pauly. There really aren't. So if you do your week 1 work right now in college football, you will find some mispriced numbers. Take advantage of those. And it's worth locking your money up here in July, again, for a game that won't be played till the last week of August or the first week of September.
All right, money time, play of the day. We got bailed out last night, 2-1. We had Tigers, White Sox over 10. It was 2-1 in the 7th, then the rains came. Tigers
Let it rain, Paul. Let it rain.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. We know the bullpens were bad, but that was a gift. Play of the day.
It
betting
was,
number
but look,
915,
let's not. We'll take them when we can get them. I got no arguments with a rain delay working in our favor in this instance. We've had
all right, 9:15 the innings, $1.05, making life difficult for Bundy right off the bat. Santana revived his career, on pace for career highs in home runs and RBIs. Let's go with the Indians to keep it going, stay hot. The Indians rather, $1.05, the play of the day. Next week, NFC East, our final division preview with the deep dive, and PGA Championship preview with Brady Cannon, the final major right around the corner. That's coming up on Sportsbet. Have a good weekend. Betting Insight today with Pauly and Teddy.